Once we have checked if the user has won the game, we must also check if he has lost. To check it, let's go back to the code behind of the application and add a new condition in the handleGuess method. In this case, the condition will be an else if. Let's check answer.indexOf passing as parameter letter. But this time, we're going to compare if the value is equal to -1 to check if the user has pressed an incorrect letter. In case this has happened, we need a way to keep track of how many times an incorrect letter has been selected. For this, I am going to go back to the fields region, and I'm going to add a new field called mistakes that has an initial value equal to 0, which will be the number of mistakes the user has made. Subsequently, let's go back to the validation and increase the value of the field by 1. With this field created, we need a property to show the user how many times he has failed and how many tries he has left to guess the word. Let's go back to the graphical interface properties section and create a new property that is of type string and is called GameStatus. Let's create its get and set. Let's turn it into a full property, and let's create a block body for the set. Remember to invoke onPropertyChanged. Once we have the new property, let's go back to the XAML code and replace the static content with the property value. Let's then remove the static text and create a binding to the GameStatus property. To assign the value to this property, let's create a new method that allows us to set the current status of the game, since we are going to use it multiple times. Let's go back to the game engine section and create a new method called updateStatus, in which we set the value of the property to be equal to an interpolated string that is equal to errors, : we use the mistakes fields to tell the user how many errors he has made. But we also need a field that lets us know what is the maximum number of mistakes the player can make. Let's create it in the fields section, let it be of type integer, and let it be called maxWrong. Let's set a maximum value of 6 attempts. Let's go back to the updateStatus method and add the maxWrong field to the string. Once we have done this, in the handleGuess method, after validating that an error has been made, let's invoke the updateStatus method to display the string in the graphical interface. Subsequently, we must check if the user should continue playing or not. For this, we will invoke a new method called checkIfGameLost. We're going to create this new method, and what we're going to do in the method is simply to compare if mistakes is equal to maxWrong. In the event that the condition is met, let's set the value of message to be equal to you lost. Once these changes are done, let's test the application. We're going to press some buttons, and in the superior part we can already see the message that shows us how many errors we have committed. We're going to press another letter, this value increases, we're going to continue committing errors, the value changes again, and as soon as we reach the value 6, which is the maximum of allowed errors, we see the message that indicates us that we lost the game. Finally, what we have to do is to change the image for a better visual appearance. Let's stop the execution of the application, and what we're going to do is to create a binding between the source property of the image control and the property type string that indicates which image we want to show at a certain moment. This is also possible to achieve it thanks to data binding. Let's return to the code behind, and let's create a new property type string that is called currentImage with its respective get and set. And let's turn it into a complete property. Let's create the block body for the set and remember to invoke the onPropertyChanged method on the set. We must set an initial image, so we will go to the definition of the currentImage field and we will indicate that the initial image is going to be img0.jpg. Let's copy the name of the property that we have created, go to the XAML code, and replace the source value by this new property. Let's set the binding and use the currentImage property. Once we have done this, we're going to change the value of the image when an error is made in the game. Let's go to the handle guess method, and inside the else if, let's indicate current image equal to, let's use an interpolated string, and let's apply the format followed in the images. Notice that it starts with the term img and increases the numerical value as it is lost in the game. Let's go back to the current image assignment. Let's change this C to a capital C so we don't have problems, and indicate that we want to use the field called mistakes, which contains a value that we can use to change the required image. Let's finalize the string with the JPG extension, save the changes, and test if the application works correctly. Now we can see the application. Let's proceed to press an incorrect letter and see how we are already displaying a different image each time an error has been made.